Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, everyone. And welcome to today's webinar on mastering the migration to Ovation Option Clearing Corp's Ovation platform with Ness. I'm Inder Samath, and I lead strategic client relationships and business development in financial services for North America at Ness, and I'm pleased to be a host. The financial services industry is undergoing a rapid transformation, making it essential for firms to stay ahead of the curve. We are here to guide you through one such transformational change to the Options Clearing Corp with their planned rollout of the Ovation platform early 2025, an update that promises to enhance the operational efficiency and risk management capabilities of financial services firms dealing in equity and index options. It is critical the OCC members, participants, and exchanges plan their platform adoption in the immediate term. Today, we have three experts from Ness who will be sharing their insights on the OCC, the Ovation platform enhancements and integrations, and critically, how to effectively test these changes to ensure seamless adaptation. Before we dive into heart of today's discussion, let me share a few housekeeping notes to keep us on track. And yes, these are slightly more exciting than your typical find your nearest exit instructions. Questions? We absolutely want to hear from you. So if you have questions during the presentation, please drop them into the chat. Think of it as passing notes in class, but here you're encouraged to do so and you won't get in trouble, I promise. Follow up, we'll be sending out a recap after the webinar so you can revisit all the key items, points, and other additional resources that we discussed, and probably find a few Easter eggs we have hidden in plain sight. Just kidding about the Easter eggs. Anyway, thank you for adhering to these guidelines. And now, without further ado, let's get started and dive into the exciting world of OCC's Ovation platform changes. To give us a primer on the OCC and the significance of these platform changes, please welcome Connor Hogendown, Ness Client Engagement Manager at OCC. Connor, the floor is all yours.
Thank you, Indar, and thanks everyone for joining today. What I'm going to do is I'm going to give a quick overview of who the OCC is and what services they provide. So the OCC is the world's largest equities derivatives clearing organization. They clear every listed option in the United States. In a moment, I will go into a little bit more detail on what that means to clear a transaction. But just to give you an idea of the volume here, we're talking about 10 billion plus transactions cleared every year. The OCC has more than 100 clearing members, and they provide central counterparty clearing and settlement services to 20 exchanges and trading platforms. The OCC is a systemically important financial market utility operating under jurisdiction of the SEC and the CFTC. So they provide a really important service, and they're a very important institution involved in financial markets. So let me give you a quick overview of what it means to clear a trade. Next slide. So, in this example here, in this visual, we have counterparty A on the left side, the buyer, and counterparty B on the right side, the seller. So when counterparty A and counterparty B agree on a transaction, in a transaction that the OCC is clearing, what happens is the OCC essentially acts as the buyer to every seller and the seller to every buyer. So when that transaction is agreed upon, the clearing members involved work with the OCC to ensure that this transaction is guaranteed, essentially. So this gives everyone a lot of confidence that no matter who they're trading with, they're going to receive the cash or the securities that they agree to as part of that trade. So that's a quick overview of what it means to be a central clearing counterparty. On the next slide, I'll talk a little bit more about the exciting new platform that the OCC is launching called Ovation. So Ovation is the third iteration. So they started with a legacy system, they upgraded that to Encore, and in this new next generation update, This is called Ovation. And what this is used to is to really help ensure the financial market stability and systemic stability on based off of increased volumes and other things that are happening, and will provide the infrastructure to build this out into the foreseeable future. So this new platform has enhanced security, optimized services, streamlined operations, and increased scalability. Um, the launch of Ovation is planned for 25, which is why it's critical for us to kind of think about how we plan for this launch and how all different clearing members and financial institutions involved are ready for this launch. So we'll be talking about that a lot more in today's webinar. So thank you for that, Indar. Thanks.
Thank you, Connor, for that comprehensive introduction. It's clear that OCC is pivotal in the financial services ecosystem, and understanding these changes is crucial for every stakeholder involved. Moving on, let's delve into what these changes entail, specifically focusing on the enhancements and integrations of the Ovation platform for the financial services firms. I'm thrilled to introduce Mitesh Dasani. Mitesh is Vice President at Ness and leads transformation solutions in financial services and other verticals. Mitesh, please take it away.
Absolutely. Thanks, Inder. You're too kind. Uh, to start talking about what we do to help you with over here, let me begin by articulating. Ness has been working with multiple partners. A lot of y'all who are attending today might be our customers today, and probably future customers. But who we are talking with is kind of displayed over here as a quick gist. I'll quickly go to the next slide and talk about what we are doing. So, as Connor mentioned, OCC typically works with execution, clearing, margin management, exercise, assignment transactions, exit transactions, delivery, handling, lending services, all related to U.S. equity options market. Now, with the arrival of Ovation, what are the changes that you are going to expect in your system? Now, there's a very high level presentation that OCC has made last month about like making changes at fixed XML layer, updated truncated files, updated protocols for transfer of files. Now, that is more of a practitioner's view, but at a high level, right? And we have that detailed practitioner's view coming up at the later stage if time permits. But more at a high level, it basically is two parts to this approach. The first part is we need to modernize your API integrations with Ovation system. Right now, you may have already begun the process, or you may have kind of started road mapping it or created a map around it, or you may be in the stage of deciding how you're going to get with that migration or with that upgrade. And Ness is here to help you with that process. And we have a kind of a strategy where we understand what are the APIs that need to be created, how they need to be upgraded from your existing connections with Encore. And the second part of that strategy is where my colleague Vikas will come in and help us talk through that, is the comprehensive testing of these integrations. So once these integrations are put in place, we want to first test these using test harnesses, the test data pumps internally before we start testing them externally with Ovation system. And of course, it's going to be running in a parallel schedule format. And we'll talk about the schedule that's upcoming too in the future slides. But at a high level, those are the two areas that we're going to talk about today. Going to the next slide, please. Our role in your transition to Ovation is we specialize in smooth transitions to new platforms, offering expert guidance at every step, right? Our USP is to include deep financial services expertise, while our expertise on integration and a proven track record on similar integrations. Now, our services are not like a single package. what we do is we can help you with consultation on a smooth transition. We can tailor the services for you, or we can provide a comprehensive support from uh, from start to end. So, depending on what your needs are or necessity is, we can tailor that solution for you. Next slide. So, when we talk about these solutions, right, there is a specific timeline that OCC has created, and we are pretty much at the middle of 2024. It's spring break. I'm going to be out next week for that. Uh, so, there's a projected release date when we'll start having connection testing availability. But before that, you need to start upgrading your API integrations. You need to have performance systems in place. So, at a high level, depending on the organization that you represent, each of your organization has a specific timeline that has been created, which I will share. This OCC I shared with you all probably in the presentation that you saw a couple of weeks ago, but I did want to bring in over here that thought process. So over the next few slides, you will see that you all have specific timelines, beginning with UI navigation testing. So let's go to the next slide. So you'll see that clearing members have the most amount of work to do. So you'll begin with UI navigation testing and scripted transactional testing. Then you'll start with scripted outbound data. But before you do all this, you need to upgrade your existing systems for it. And we can help you with that. And of course, we can help you with the testing and certification process. So similarly, we've got a timeline for exchanges. Next slide, please. In the next slide, please.
1 second.
Sure.
Some issue.
No worries. So over the next couple of slides, you will see that we've got the similar timeline for exchanges and the slide after that, which is for non-clearing organizations. So depending on your organization, you would have those specific tests that you would conduct. So not only is our solution customized for each of these segments, but we are also within that segment, we can provide bespoke services to you all. Now, what is that solution looking like, right? So we offer advanced tools for simplified and efficient OCC API integration, right? Out of box solutions, which can quickly ramp up your API integrations, implement scalable cloud solutions. So it can be on the same GovTech cloud or the same cloud that OCC is on. Deploy robust systems for low latency, high reliability data handling. We also provide comprehensive testing framework and guidance for certification with OCC. So we handhold that through that process. While we are doing that, we ensure that there is top-notch security and compliance and data protection around it, while we modernize, integrate your legacy systems with the current OCC technologies. Now, what are the considerations that we had when we defined this solution for you? So on the next slide, you'll see that the considerations that we had was focusing primarily on API integration, continuous monitoring of these APIs, which will be low latency. You might have versioning of these APIs that you might have to work with, because for 6 months, pretty much you're going to have a side-by-side execution while one system kind of ramps down, and then there will be a ramp up of Ovation, and then you'll basically have a cutover on a single day when Encore will stop existing and Ovation will be the system of the day. And then we are building in robust exception handling for these APIs, and our testing is prod like ahead of time. So when it comes to certification with OCC, it's a smooth, seamless process. Now that said, here is our high-level approach overview. So how do we approach these solutions, right? Our strategy encompasses assessing, planning, implementation, testing, and go live. Now, within this is an end-to-end solution, but within this, depending on which portion is important for you and you need those services, we can customize it and we can create a bespoke solution for you. The timeline will be aligned with OCC's Ovation launch plan. Now, you might be wondering, maybe we are talking too early in the stage with you, but that is not the case according to us. If you need to upgrade your API systems, if you need to upgrade your integrations in place right now, you should be thinking about your integration strategy today, because your testing is going to begin mid-year, right? So you pretty much have spring time when you'll have to complete your API integrations, and testing can begin from summer and will go all the way till end of fall, beginning of winter, and you should be certified by then, essentially. So now you have to align with that launch plan. So, and we can assist you with that. We will also accommodate market participants' needs and requirements. So your existing plans, thought process would be accommodated in that strategy. So key milestones that you would look at would be to implement API integration. Ovation platform will get launched. There will be side by side parallel execution of testing and end to end testing and certification with Ovation system, with OCC. That said, our our detailed approach, each of the areas are talked about on the next slide. So you'll see that what within assessment and planning, we will begin with a thorough assessment of your current systems and define integration objectives aligned with your business goals, which also align with Ovation's goals. Then we would define the API design and development. We will create these designs which are scalable, secure, and efficient, focusing on seamless data exchange and interoperability. The next step would be to do integration testing, conduct a rigorous testing to ensure functional performance, parallel comparative runs, and security, including load testing for high traffic scenarios. The next part will be to deploy and monitor. So once the APIs are implemented, they are tested in the test harnesses, and then they get tested with the Ovation system. We then deploy and then we monitor post certification also, so that we can continue to improve or tune the performance during the parallel run, that is the duration of the 6 months. And then we will of course provide ongoing support and maintenance as required by our customers. Of course, at the end of the day, we will document all this, and we will also train your people to understand what work has been accomplished and how they can take over and maintain it at their as part of their existing organization. This is our high level approach. Now I will hand over to Vikas, who will talk about on the next slide the our testing and certification offering. Over to you, Vikas.
Sure. Thanks, Mitesh.
Sure.
All right. So let's talk about the testing strategy and why it's important. Uh, as Mitesh is talking, there are going to be a lot of changes in the APIs, both inbound and outbound, and you will have to upgrade your integration points to those new APIs, which essentially will mean your JSON outputs, your JSON inputs to those APIs will change. Your data to those inputs might vary from sending 3 parameters to 5 new parameters, which means the tooling that you are currently using might have to get upgraded to be able to uh, you know create those strategies around how do you test those particular scenarios. So there will be a need of functional regression, load, performance, and security testing to make sure that you are completely ready when this new ovation is getting rolled out, and to make sure we are a little proactive in terms of the go to market when we are setting up these integrations. So there are three key offerings where we can help you to get up to the speed and ready for these integrations. The first one is the approach, where we can actually help you to define the overall approach of the integrations and the testing that needs to be set up, which also drill down to the actual APIs that needs to be tweaked and what APIs has to be tested. There is a detailed playbook available in this forum. If there are any questions on getting a preview of what are those upcoming changes. Obviously, we may not be able to drill down into every single thing, but Mitesh will definitely be able to show you a snapshot of what is getting changed. I think in this entire approach, what's more important is what is changing, and Ness exactly has a view into what is actually getting changed and what needs to be tested. Because most of the time we struggle with what needs to be tested, right? So we can actually come up with and a very very quick response time on where the focus has to be spent in terms of how and what needs to be tested. So we can define a well-defined approach to make sure that you're ready with the entire rollout. We can also help define the testing strategy. Now, the strategy is going to be very important. The reason being, some of you might be using Azure Load for your load or the performance testing, whereas somebody else might be using Dynatrace or some other tools for the actual testing, and somebody using Blade Runner or Blaze Meter for doing the testing. Somebody is using JMeter and stuff like that. So we can actually help define the overall blueprint of the testing strategy, starting from the actual functional and the regression testing, which means, do you use Postman, UiPath, Selenium, any existing frameworks? How do you parameterize your data? Do you want to test these APIs from a production carve out of the data? Do you have any test data management strategies available? So we can actually help quickly define the overall testing strategy, because this is going to be very very significant to make sure there are zero issues in the production the moment you roll out this entire platform from a go to market perspective. So we can help define the strategy, and the strategy is going to be very quick because we know this insights on what actually needs to be tested. And once we help define the overall strategy, we can actually um, partner with you to develop this entire testing as a team. And as part of that, we can also work together to then provide a go no go decision, saying, hey, I've done my strategy, I have my entire automation available. As a team, now the QA can provide, or the UAT can provide a go no go decision, saying, okay, this integration is ready to go to production or not. What are the defects? We can immediately tag it over to the development or the engineering organization to fix it. So these are the three key offerings where we can partner with you to help you finish off this program and make sure you are ahead of the game in terms of the testing perspective. Moving on, there are different kind of testings that needs to be done, and I'll not go through the entire bullets, but in a nutshell, there is lot of file movements that will happen, right? You have some source files that needs to be transformed using the CSV formats, and that needs to go into the target state. So how do you really test the incoming files and making sure that data is actually going to the target tables and you are getting the right response back as well, saying processed, not processed? That's one part. Then you also have to do the API testing, right? Are those APIs really giving you the right response? So that's another thing. So there is a lot of structured approach that needs to be put into place to make sure that we are really thorough in the preparation of how this entire testing is happening. And also we can help bridge the gap because we understand the OCC testing processes, which means we can actually help uh, adapt to those processes that OCC is also following, and then bridge that gap between your team. So we can actually get you up to the speed on how this integrated testing can happen from a start till the end by leveraging the environments that you have versus the environments that OCC will provide you, and where you can actually perform your testing in an automated fashion. So these kind of testing and certification preparation is something that we can help you to get it done quickly. So the message is, we know the we know the insights both from the start till the end, where we can kind of bridge the dots to get you faster on this entire certifications. Moving on, now, there are going to be go live and post launch support. So, like I said, we can definitely be a part of the journey where we can give you a very smooth go live experience, because we are a part of this program. We understand the APIs, we understand what testing needs to be performed. So we can actually take the ownership by partnering with your teams to provide a go no go decision and make sure the go live experience is good, right? Things are not breaking, so we can take that ownership in terms of giving you that experience. So that is something that we can help as part of that. And the moment it is live, we can also provide an ongoing launch post launch support, by setting up observability platforms, by setting up AIOS platforms, by setting up continuous monitoring platforms into place, so that you have a complete visibility into how my APIs are performing. Is there any degradation in the performance on the specific location for those APIs? What are those APIs which is not really performing well? Where are the data conversions that are not really happening? What are the issues? So we can set up a system which provides you complete visibility into where and what is failing, right? Through those observability platforms into this whole approach. So that is something that we can help you from an end-to-end perspective. Moving on, why Why Ness? I think it is obviously that uh, we are the partner who understand the system end to end, and probably I'll hand it over to Inder to give you more insights into why we are differentiated into this whole thing, and what is the differentiator that we bring. I mean, the level of detail that probably Mitesh will share at an API level in terms of what parameter is getting changed. Ness will be the only partner who can actually guide you on what is getting changed and why it is getting changed, where integration has to be established. So that's pretty much I wanted to kind of share in this forum. In there, over to you.
Thank you, Vikas, for shedding light on the crucial aspect of testing. And again, as Vikas did highlight, Ness has a proven expertise in the financial technology transformations. We have extensive experience in managing complex integration projects, including our experience within OCC and how we can help the financial services institutions associated with OCC. We have a strong track record in delivering results for our clients, basically having a deliverable based and outcome based approach. I would not highlight some more differentiators because they're just out there. You can pretty much go through it. I would definitely give Mitesh some time to kind of go over briefly about the practitioner's guide on the next slide, and then we'll come back for any questions in the comment section. Mitesh?
Absolutely. Thanks in that. Thanks, Vikas and Connor, for teeing this conversation up for me. So all of you all have heard the high level strategy on how the solution will be and what will be our approach to it from API integration perspective, from testing perspective, and from our understanding of the Ovation system. Right now, your question might be, "Hey, let's see the meat, or the let's see the rubber hit the road," right? And that's where we come with a second part to our conversation. Most of the times this conversation would be had with your architects, with your test leads, and your integration leads. However, we wanted to let you know that we do bring in these capabilities to your team. So if your team needs help with consultation on it, needs guidance on this, you all can definitely reach out to us. So the thought process is that what is this transition to Ovation brings as a deep understanding of the technical documentation part of it. And this technical documentation is provided by OCC, and you can access it on their website. Now, however, we have kind of gone through this documentation. We understand the changes that are needed. So, at a high level, on the next slide, you will see that the high level changes that we are looking at is more like fixxml parser has to be used. So making fixxml parser as the de facto standard for data processing and compatibility with Ovation updates. Batch files would be compressed, non-truncated data. So we'll be zipping compressed batch files to streamline data transmission and storage. Non-truncated data means that you'll be handling non-truncated data effectively to ensure data accuracy and integrity throughout the whole workflow. That said, other transmission changes are trade receipts, CSN connections, new protocols for transfer. We are aware of all of this, and there is a detailed thought process behind it. However, I will not delve into the extreme details of it, but I do want to walk you through, like for on the next slide, like what are the adjustments, the LOPR adjustments, or the futures processing changes that are coming up. So we are aware of those too, right? And we want to ensure compliance and accuracy. So for example, you may ask that, okay, the API updates that we're doing are, one of the API updates is exercise by exercise option, right? So let's look at how those changes are coming in. So on the next slide, you will see the CSV layouts, the updated CSV layouts for open up and close out transaction, standard exercise intentions. These layouts have been understood by us, and we have ready transmission options available with us for this. That said, we have also understood what are the challenges, and we've identified solutions to that. So on the next slide, you will see the challenges are integrating with OCC's exercise by exercise API presents challenges in data mapping, validation, requiring iterative testing and close collaboration with OCC support team. And we want to minimize that by using the test harnesses that we would create for you. We want to also implement what if margin simulation tool API. This requirement, to adapt to this new requirement, you'll need adapting to new data structure, custom data transformation scripts, and extensive use of the API documentation. We have done that work for you, right? We will do this understanding, and we will work and create the APIs for you. That's how that's what we bring to the table. And then navigating the complexities of authentication, security protocols for API access demands a comprehensive review of system security measures. So we can even provide you with that kind of service. And we've got a solution for each of these challenges in place at our end. Going to the next one. This is the query X by X JSON message. We've not only looked at the message, the high level message and the elements that are involved in it. We've gone into the detail of looking at the JSON message payload and identifying the data elements and understanding the mappings for it. So your target mapping is already in place. Now all we need to help you with is the source mapping and make it happen quickly. So that's pretty much the high level overview of the practitioner's view of it. But please ask more questions. We are here to answer your questions further. And of course, I would hand over to Inder to talk about our go live and post launch support that we provide and additional information. Please go ahead, Inder.
Sure. Incredible insights, Mitesh. Thank you for outlining these details and enhancements and integrations. I think Vikas already covered few of the points related to go live and production support. What I would do is I would hand it over to the floor for opening for any questions and comments, and we can respond to the questions specifically. What I'd also like to highlight is we would definitely share the practitioner's guide when we get engaged on the half a day workshop that we're proposing, up to half a day workshop for the participants who are interested to kind of engage us further.
How you would work as a single team with our existing test team in place. How would you align, and what is the thought process around that?
I think the first step that we have done with other customers, and probably will do the same thing, which
Any
is a very
questions from
successful
the
model. The first step in the process is to help define the strategy and identify, making sure the team is aligned on what is getting changed. Because unless you know what is getting changed, then only we can.
Right. With this, let's give it a minute more and then we'll call it. Mitesh, would you like to ask some questions to the audience and Paul?
Yeah, like one of the questions I think most folks would have is could we talk a little bit about our credentials? Where have we done what? Can we talk a little bit about that? So in there, if you could help us give an idea of, what are your success stories?
Sure. So as we covered a slide which highlighted our span of expertise and experience in the financial services space, we specialize in digital transformation and also product with a product engineering mindset. That's what I would call. We are a global team of 5,400 plus professionals across the world, and our success stories include implementations and rollouts at S&P, Options Clearing Corp, CME, and few other organizations in the space. We also have rolled out cutting edge solutions at a lot of product or fintech firms that you may think of, which include some of the RegTech and Actimize being some of the examples, or without naming others, these are some of the leading organizations that we partner with in financial services space. And we'll be happy to kind of share more when you engage with us. And obviously, these are just few of them which stand out, but we'll be happy to share more.
Perfect. The next question is actually for Vikas. So Vikas, could you help us understand how you would work as a single team with our existing test team in place, how would you align, and what is the thought process around that?
Uh, I think the first step that we have done with other customers and probably will do the same thing, which is a very successful model. The
Mhm.
first step in the process is to help define the strategy and identify making sure the team is aligned on what is getting changed, because unless you know what is getting changed, then only we can test it thoroughly. So as part of that process, we'll have the experts from Ness who will partner with your teams, right, who are actually owning the platform, because you are the stakeholders who actually know your systems and your APIs. So we'll set up a core strategy team who will work together to first define the strategy, and then we can definitely help those people from your organization to understand what is also getting changed. So this team will then define the strategy in terms of the target systems which are getting changed, what is the tooling that needs to be implemented, what are the APIs that needs to be coded from testing perspective, and define the scope of what all things needs to be tested, because business will have a different expectation of, hey, I have this NFRs that I want to make sure that needs to be tested, and these are my SLAs, right? So we'll have to also make sure the business is aligned into that model. So it will be a strategy that will have a mix from the business, the product engineering team and the experts from Nest, who will define an operating model, which will be a part of the overall strategy. And that team, once forms, then we'll take it to the second level of maybe giving you a proof of concept of how this testing will happen. We'll support you into how those setups can be done quickly by leveraging the investments in the tooling that you've already done. So the intention here is not to throw away the tools and technologies that you already have invested in. I think all the tools and technologies already exist. You have all the right frameworks and you have the right all tools. The key to the pudding is what and how it needs to be tested, and that is where we'll help you to kind of assemble what all testing that needs to be defined. So pilot phase of probably, let's say, 4 weeks or 5 weeks, and executing couple of APIs and showcasing you on what is getting changed. And then once we have agreement as a team on, okay, this is what is the actual scope that needs to be executed, that is where we'll then execute the third phase of actually automating all those scenarios. And even if needed, we might have to even help you to upgrade your products and your APIs, which will have those integration points. So the strategy will define the next steps of how it will happen, and the strategy team will have people like Mitesh, me in that team to help you define the overall strategy for the go live.
And Vikas, a related question to this: what are the typical risks a typical financial services institution dealing with OCC can face in this particular scenario that you rolled out? It
Uh,
obviously is very simplified, but what are the typical risks and how do we mitigate it? If you can highlight that.
so I think I'll just call out one, the most important risk. Not aware of the unknowns, and based on my experience, what I've seen is if you put in a new team who will first kind of read through the documents and understand, hey, these are the changes, it will probably take you 3 to 4 months to first understand what is getting changed. So that is where the key is. So if you can partner, we can help bring, these are the top 10 things which are actually getting changed. So if you're aware of what is exactly getting changed, that will eliminate your biggest risk of having failures in the production. So if we can put in a framework which can automate every single point of the integration points, whether it is APIs or the inputs or the file systems, if you can have 100% coverage of every single integration points, that will eliminate any failure in the production that can happen because of this, right? So that is the one and the four most important thing that I would recommend on this whole thing. I think the rest is easy. The operating model, the people who are involved, that all will then follow through towards achieving those goals.
Yeah. And one of the risks which we believe is probably understated is the timing. I think timing is everything here.
Yep.
While I think 2025 seems too far out, I think the planning, the assessment, the planning, and the actual execution needs to be laid out clearly, and the time for that is spring 2024, from what we believe. So, any thoughts on that, Vikas and Mitesh?
Mitesh, over to
Sure.
you.
So yes, you're accurate in that. One of the pitfalls that I have seen in such modernization projects is when partners wait for the testing and certification to begin to start planning out the strategy, and that what happens at that time is there are only so many people who understand this technology and who understand this the changes that are needed to be made, and then there's a premium on those resources suddenly, and to avoid those pitfalls, what uh, I am recommending to customers is, let's begin planning early, so you have yourself slotted in for these changes ahead of time, and you don't have to have your teams working in through the holiday season, because come November, mid-November, November end, till end of December, you go your most of your teams are going to want to be out. So you essentially your 6 month overlap kind of now compresses to a pretty much a 3.5 4 month kind of a timeline for testing. So I would say, a late start make it more expensive for you, and would also put a burden on your team. So that would be a one of the risks that I would focus on.
Thank you, Mitesh, for highlighting that. And I think a related question for Connor. Connor,
Mhm.
based on your experience at OCC, what would you what are some of the challenges you would kind of highlight that a firms typically would face or are expected to face in the given scenario?
Sure. I mean, I think this is just kind of more of a generic response to, updating integration points, but, basically making sure that you're cataloging not just all the APIs, the SFTP, MQ integration points, but also familiarizing yourself from an operations perspective with the user interface. There's a brand new user interface for Ovation. Being able to navigate that effectively as you need to for different purposes is important. But yeah, I'll kind of echo what others have said. Starting late, um, uh, looking, not considering this now in terms of budget, in terms of planning a project like this, making sure you have the right resources that are familiarizing themselves with all the different specifications, and have that subject matter expertise in order to make sure that it's a successful test and you're working towards those timelines for certification. Those are all things that I think are really important.
Got it. And I think if I had to add a couple of more, I would also like to highlight the mandated XML formats. I think until with Encore, I think OCC was accepting flat files as well. Going forward, with Ovation will be only XML and XML layouts, and the firms will need a parser as well if they've not implemented a parser as yet. And obviously, they've rolled out a lot new features like CSV uploads and whatnot, which are not available in the earlier option. So
Very good point in there that you bring up. So what design pattern we are implementing is a translator design pattern. So if the domain model is set, then what we do is we have a domain model to XML uh, translator as a service. So it's more like not just using a parser, but having a kind of a ability to spit in and spit out immediate transformation of data, incoming and outgoing data from your data model, and defining that source and target mapping ahead of time. That is what essentially accelerates our integration development.
got it. Thank you. Again, I'll just give 30 more seconds for any comments, feedback, or
I
questions.
see one question for
Yeah.
Connor, as in, uh, since you are client engagement manager, the question that is coming up is, what is the kind of support or collaboration that you typically would expect if you're working with us as one of the market participants? So engaging, when we start engaging with you, what is the kind of bandwidth we should allocate at our end? Is there a possibility to do an oversight about it? Probably we can talk about that in the workshop more, but I just wanted to.
Yeah, yeah, that's a great question, Mitesh. I think there's definitely a lot of things that go into making a project like this successful. So, one, making sure that you have the technical leadership around your platforms that you can work with on a, especially from an architecture perspective, like you mentioned before. It's about trying to keep everything existing as much as possible and kind of filling in that integration layer with the new transformations that are required. So being able to work very closely with that team. And then, of course, Ness works in a variety of different ways. A lot of times we kind of work as a hybrid team where there's technical resources involved. That's sometimes a really good approach, especially when you're looking for kind of a knowledge transfer handoff, being able to have the people on the different teams involved. But yeah, definitely technical leadership, VAs support is great in terms of understanding the existing systems. And then, Ness has a lot of expertise that they bring to the table around this that we can always, fill in when it comes to the Ovation platform. But in terms of our clients' particular systems and use cases, we need to make sure that we have a really good understanding of everything that they're trying to do, so that we have a comprehensive solution design in place and a comprehensive plan for implementing the necessary changes and successfully executing all the different tests required for certification.
Sounds good, Connor. Before we end, should we talk a little bit about our planned conversations that we are having in our New York office in
Yes.
the upcoming weeks, please?
I wanted to say that as well. So thank you, Mitesh. So
Sure.
as we wrap up today's webinars, definitely I'd like to extend a heartfelt thank you to our experts, Connor, Mitesh, and Vikas, for their invaluable insights. And I would also like to share that we will be hosting an event in New York sometime in spring, and also probably in Chicago. That's something which is in the annual and being planned as we speak, most likely in early summer. So we'll keep the group posted, as well as on our Ness social handle. Be on the lookout for that, and you'll receive some invites as well tied to this. And a sincere thanks to all of you for joining us today. We hope you found this session informative and that it has equipped you with an overview to navigate OCC's Ovation platform changes. Today's insights are just the beginning. Sorry, Mitesh, you want to say something before?
I was just wondering, how do we get in touch with you? Was the next question.
I wanted to highlight that as well. So
Yeah.
there's something at the end, so I wanted to kind of leave that. Basically, should you have any further questions or need assistance, please don't hesitate to reach out to us at Ness, or you can directly email to ovation@ness.com. So we made it simple where you can reach out, and we'd definitely be happy to respond, right? And as I mentioned, today's insights are just the beginning. We at Ness are committed to partnering with you through these transformations, ensuring you emerge more robust and ready for the opportunities ahead. So we're here to help you make the most of the developments. Thank you again for your time, and we wish you a great rest of the day. Goodbye.
Thank you.
Again, the email ID is ovation@ness.com. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.